Like everything they've done was like into like with this name, and they're like, what if we just changed our name and everything would fall into place?
It's kind of the thing about music, though, right? Where it's like, it's a group of people trying to find one name with all these personalities to make this one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's why they call it production.
Yep.
Welcome to Rich Conversations. We are in the farmhouse studio, and I'm your host, Rich Hebron. This is almost like a co-host now. This is cousin Frank.
Yeah. I show up every now and again.
And we're joined by Jesse Frye, who is a member and lead singer of the band As Oak.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hopefully you can hear him in the background too.
We have it, we do have it going in the background. I feel like recording, like when I record podcast episodes and we're in a certain space, there's such a big difference between like silence and just having something in the background. No matter who it is, it's like I'm always about it. I was explaining to them though that YouTube can recognize, like the technology can recognize a video you put in, whether you own, if there's background in the music, if it's copyrighted material, then it takes it down and you can't monetize it. Not takes it down, but like it changes the label.
Yes.
But we were just saying, I have the blessing.
I suppose it's a little different.
Okay, I'm gonna open this up with a question that my grandma asked when you got here, and how long did that beard take to grow?
It's probably, if I think about it, it's probably closer to the 4-year mark. I think 2020 is actually the last time I cut it.
2020?
Yeah.
So this wasn't a COVID thing where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna start growing a beard, and you just went with it?
No, it was like probably a couple months after it. After like the March area, I had shaved my head and I had shaved my face and just had a mustache.
Okay.
And that was probably March of 2020.
Wow.
It's
late March. Yeah.
All the members of the band have varying lengths of beard, from stubble to fabulousness.
So how did you get the name As Oak?
That's a great question. So
A band name's important.
it is, yeah.
It really is.
Oklahoma is like the call out as Oak. It's short for Across Oklahoma, which is the title of this album.
Okay.
And that stems from Jason and Blake used to live across the street from one another, essentially. And that street was Oklahoma.
Cool.
So when all this kind of started, we were going across Oklahoma to work on music. Blake kind of chose the name. We had debated names for months, and when he said this, I was at a point of I don't really care anymore what the name of the band is. It just needs to have a name.
It just needs to have a name?
Yeah.
It's good though. It's got good reference. You know what I mean? Like, it's vocal. There's a lot of layers to the name.
There is.
That's good. I just learned for the first time. I've known these guys for years, so that's kind of cool.
We should add a little bit more context to this conversation. Jesse is joining us, and his band, As Oak, has an album that comes out March 21st.
Yes.
And we have it playing in the background. And he's singing right now. I'm listening to it, looking at you. And his voice is heaven sent. It's fantastic, spectacular.
It's up there, dude.
It has something I first thought of was Chris Stapleton.
That's
came
what
to
a
mind.
lot of that's a common.
Is it?
Yeah, that's kind of a common thing. Is that initially that's kind of what they compare him to, but personally, like I think Jesse has a little bit more. I want to say rock and roll. I don't know. Like it's something because Chris Stapleton's pretty country. You know what I mean? And fluctuates within that genre. I've heard Jesse sing live. I've heard got a couple different albums. I don't know, man. It's a different avenue entirely.
I'm a big Stapleton fan.
You have a very soulful, very rich
Excellent way to
voice.
put it.
Yeah.
A rich voice on a rich conversation. Hey,
Here we go.
hey.
It's it also has like some pain to it, some depth,
Yeah.
where like you've been through some stuff. Kind of sounds like that. I don't know if you have or not.
I have, yeah.
Okay, we all have.
Yes.
We all have, right?
That's the
And
experience of life.
So how I came together with the band is truly magical.
yes, Frank.
Okay? I was at a friend's brewery having beers. And we went outside in the parking lot to smoke. And as we were in the parking lot, I heard this outstanding music. And I was with a decent group of people. And I was like, man, where is that music coming from? And sure enough, it was coming from the very building that we were in front of. And I was like, man, these guys sound out. This is great. I got to tell these guys. So I was so taken back by how incredible their music sounded. I went back into the brewery. And everybody was like, dude, are you okay? Because I had this puzzling look on my face. And I just couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over it. I was like, man, these guys, I got to tell these guys how I feel, right? Like, I want them to know that whatever they're doing, I appreciate. So I put my beer down. I was like, I'm going up there. And everybody's like, what? You're just going to go up there, dude? You're just going to invade somebody's space? And I was like, I mean, that's kind of what I do anyway, right? Like, that's just kind of who I am, right?
It's your essence.
Yeah. I take up the space initially. You know, yeah. So, climbed up there, and I knocked on the door, and I told them, like, you guys sound outstanding. I remember it. And Jesse wasn't even there that day. And neither was Sean. It was just Christian, Blake, and Jason. And, like, I had enough beers and enough confidence in me to kind of jam along with them. I don't play an instrument. This is my instrument. Sometimes it's way off key, but it is what it is. And yeah, man, had an outstanding time with the guys, and I've been hanging out with them ever since. I got to know Jesse pretty well, too. Like, we have a lot of similarities of outlooks and takes on life, and now he's met Grandma, so
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a milestone, not just in your life, but in mine. Like, Richie knows, man, I hold Grandma in real high regard. I don't just take anybody to this place, right? Like, this is a sacred place in my world, dude. And Richie knows that. It's a sacred place in his world, too. He grew up right down the street, you know. He's coming here since before we were even born. We got a lot of memories and a lot of history in this place, and that's the thing. It's like, I feel that you were an important, and you and the band, I don't want to exclude anybody, because I think the entire band, like, you guys are all important enough to me to where I want to share this with you, because you guys, your music to me has already given me so much. Like, I feel like there's no way I could repay that. You know what I mean? Like, especially the fact that I'm the only one with the album right now. Like, dude, that's just, that's just Slick Rick right there. You know what I mean? Like, that's just cool. That's just one of one type of stuff is, you know, that's how I feel. That's where I feel this band is, right? Where there's nobody else like it. There's nobody else that I've personally heard that sounds this way, that vibes this way. You know, I asked you, one of the questions I asked you when we first came upstairs is, you know, when I took you to their practice space, what vibe did you feel when you walked in that room? And what did you say?
So I feel calm, relaxed, just at peace. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's me, and that's the thing, right? Like, that's what your music does. You know what I mean? Like, it almost separates reality, because it doesn't matter what all five of you are apart, or what each one of you do individually. But when you guys come together to make that music, it's as Milwaukee Records said, it's indescribable, man. Yeah. You know, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's a vibe, and it's been so long since I've experienced a modern day style band with that type of connotation attached to it, right? So, looking ahead, where do you see yourself in the band? Let's just go with 5 years from now.
I think that all of us would hope that we're just still playing together. That's always, I think, been the goal, which each one of us has different goals beyond that, of course. But I've played solo before under the name Azogue, a couple shows. And after those shows, people come up to me and they ask me why I'm playing with the band. And the truth is, I wouldn't, I'll play a solo show all day long. But it's completely different when you have those 4 other people standing next to you, knowing all the hard work that they've put in, and just the relationship that you have with them beyond being people, but actually composing music together live in a moment. The 5-piece band is a living thing that I want that to grow versus me doing something solo. Just isn't, it's not the same. I could never achieve.
There's a magic there.
Yes.
And we were talking earlier about, I asked who writes the music.
The first track wrote itself, in the moment. We all were playing random things.
How?
It's beautiful. It's just beautiful, you know what I mean? That's beautiful.
Are all the songs like that, or just that particular one?
There's quite a few on this album that are like that. The title track, Across Oklahoma, was made up in the moment. A Dance Part 1 and 2, later tracks on the album, that was made up in the moment. First track, like we had talked about, was made up in the moment. The 12th track as well was made in the moment.
And I think, so your previous album, Lake House Sessions, I've had that spinning in my garage for a year. Since it's been given, it's still in my garage CD player. You gave me this album, and this one got moved into the house. Originally, it was in the garage. This one got moved into the house, and I listen to it every day. You have a couple tracks on Lake House Sessions that it's kind of the same thing, right? Where you guys were literally in a lake house, jamming, right?
Yeah, I can't really remember all the tracks that are on that one, but I know one in particular was, this is a in the moment track.
So how does that work? You mentioned that with the band you feel kind of like this magic and you love doing it. Does it then just evoke in that moment words out of your mouth? That's how it works?
Yeah, for me, when I'm
as someone who sits down every day and writes books.
That's kind of why I thought this would be a good union, because it's I know how much time you've spent writing and buckling down, and then I've experienced this guy where it's hey, let's just play a bunch of random sounds and see how it comes out, and it ends up being an outstanding song that I just can't get enough of. You know what I mean, right?
It's the things that are going through my head personally when trying to pick out a harmony or a melody and lyrics is on this album in particular, it's a lot about the moments that were being experienced at that moment and trying to basically metaphor or simile them into the lyrics. But then I also call on my life experiences, previous loves, struggles that you're having in life.
Do you have an idea going into playing a song of what not concept, but emotion you're gonna put into, and you think back to those experiences of, say, a lost love or something like that?
Speaking about the track off of Lake House Sessions, that track that I remember in the beginning of that when we were basically vibing out and everything was just being recorded essentially. I remember thinking, I want to sound like this singer right now, and I want to talk about this subject. And that's like, I'm asking myself questions essentially in those moments of like, what's going to work with how the band is playing, and what I'm feeling from that.
So there's an awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, and this is just from the outside looking in, obviously grateful to be a part of it. I feel like a lot of it too comes from what you guys decide to play, right? Like the music kind of dictates the lyrics, because you don't know what anybody's gonna play. Like I've heard them where Christian will start out with just a smash cymbal, right? Where it's just like he'll just start smashing on the cymbal, and next thing you know, you'll get some piano, you'll get some bass. Blake will start ripping it up. Jesse will come in with a twang, and then he'll start, and like that's the thing. It's like it almost creates itself. It's the most beautiful, harmonious thing to watch that happen, right? It's like giving birth, man. It's like making a new life, dude, because it all starts with nothing. The only thing that it starts with them being together, and that's the vibe that when I walk into that room on Thursdays, man, like that's that vibe, dude. Like that you were saying, it pulls you in, because you can tell the love that you have for these guys and the love that they have for each other. It's beyond brotherly love. I've seen both. I've seen all. I've seen behind the curtains. It's beautiful though. That's the thing. It's like, because like any couple, like any family, you're gonna butt heads every now and again. It happens, whether it's over a piece of gum or a piece of music. You know what I'm saying? And like, I think that's the most intricate part of watching this band over the last year, is that even though they go in these waves, it's still like this whole thing. Like you said, it's its own thing, and that's just the best part about it, man. Like I was telling Jesse before we started, is that even if any one member is not there for practice or whatever, or if it's just 2 or 3 guys, like it is this other thing, right? Like there's this undescribable force that's so beautiful within this orb of where they practice, man, because you feel it. You feel it, and then you hear it, and then you see it, and it just creates its own thing. And kudos to you guys, man, like for real, and I think one of the biggest parts for me is that watching the work that you guys have put in just over the last year, because I know that there's a lot that I don't know, right? Like you said, you guys were together in 2017. Yeah. I've only known you since 2024. Right. You know what I mean? That's less than a year, and I'm super grateful for it too, man. I mean, look where how far we've come. You know what I mean? Like you made it now, dude. You made it.
I'm in the big house.
Yeah. And I can't wait for the world to start hearing some of this stuff, man. Especially this album, because man, this is gonna get some people, man.
I'm proud of this one. Yeah, it's Blake and I have talked about this. This is the music we dreamed of making when we were younger, and we finally have gotten there. And I guess it's funny because it's like you want to appreciate it in the moment, but right now what I'm asking is like, okay, can we do this again?
Yeah, that's
like
interesting question.
Yeah.
Like, are we gonna be able? Like, what's the next one gonna be like?
Do you feel like this one was easy?
Good question.
Easy in the sense that, yeah, like when we were doing it, what we did is we overtook Sean's house. His wife was on vacation.
Great time.
Does
Does
she know this?
Yes.
Okay.
She agreed, she agreed to
Not
it.
trying to bust out Sean there.
Yeah, she kindly agreed to allow us to take over their living room and kind of dining room area. We set up like a big mixing board, took all our equipment and cleared out those spaces, and had like a whole week of, all right, just show up at these times or show up whenever and we'll do the thing. We had kind of a set group of songs that we wanted to get recorded, but the greatest thing was we had so much time to kind of do whatever we wanted to jam-wise, which kind of produced what like some of these tracks really are. Experiencing those moments in that week in that space, which Sean has made it easy for us because the Lake House Sessions was at his father's lake house.
Which is a cool ass album too, man. That's pretty special.
So in the sense that it did come easily just because we were provided the opportunity that made it easy.
So you recorded the album there, right?
Yeah.
In that space. There's no rehearsals, right? You just show up and play?
Essentially, yeah. I mean,
or your rehearsals are all the times that you just meet up every week and play together.
Right. So Thursdays is our practice day or our rehearsal day, and typically we're preparing for shows. I don't think we were really preparing for that week of recording, though, that I remember. It wasn't like, we got to get these tracks recorded, so we need to rehearse them.
Yeah.
It was more so we knew those tracks, and it was thinking about like okay, what are we going to take? How are we going to set this up in that space kind of thing versus worrying about the music.
That's interesting. That's so much more like abstract than I feel like most bands or art is created. Like I feel like everybody is very organized in a way that creates stress often.
Yes. Yeah.
If there was one word I would not use to describe as Oak, it would be organized.
But
in the best sense of the term, you know what I mean? Like
it's chaos.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the most positive, disorganized,
because it's
harmonious
not, yeah.
ball I've ever heard, man. Right? Like, you know, especially because you've been there to experience it, man. Where it's like,
not in saying not organized. It's not equatable to not professional. It's like just a different way creatively, and that's what's so beautiful about
it's
like
so
the
unique.
arts. It's
Yeah.
like
It's
human.
actual art.
It's like
Yeah.
whatever creates the thing. You know, that's what it is.
The mechanism of creation. Like if you can discover how that works best for you.
Yeah.
I think we've realized how it works best. Like before Across Oklahoma, we went into a studio for like 3 days. I will say that was the most stressful creating experience I have ever had, by far.
Really?
And I wanted to enjoy it, but it was just not enjoyable.
How so? Elaborate on that.
We did spend time preparing those tracks that we wanted to record and rehearse before that. When we got there, it just wasn't the recording engineer who I thought it was going to be. When we wanted to use the piano was out of tune, kind of thing. And then just knowing that we're paying an arm and a leg to be there.
Yeah.
Versus we have the studio practice space and we have recording equipment. Not quite as good, and we don't have like a dedicated recording engineer. But I feel like those are just like semantics that we can make that up. Like Blake mixed this whole album.
He did a good job too. I remember hearing a lot of that conversation where, yeah, man, he did a pretty good job, man.
I think so, yeah. What's interesting is I don't think I would have mixed it the same way, but I really like how this is mixed, and I think it's super balanced.
It really is. Yeah. It's such a kick-ass album, man. I can't say it enough. On a lot of your, so like a lot of the bands, like YouTube stuff and like online stuff, you do a lot of covers, which is super cool. How do you guys pick the cover to, like, how do you pick which cover to play?
A lot of times, like, it's different each time. It really is. Lazarus, the David Bowie cover we did, that's just the track that we all like a lot.
It's cool.
Trying to think of one of the other covers.
You did
Bob Dylan, maybe?
Yeah, the cup of coffee. Yeah.
That's just a song that I really enjoy.
It's great. I've never heard that song before, which is wild because I'm pretty in with music, and
look at you. I'm pretty in with music.
I mean, I listen to a lot of music.
You do.
You know what I'm saying? And
it's just funny to hear you say that.
I've heard a lot of music, man. I listen to all of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a song I've heard before. Yeah. It's pretty unusual.
You're not a Bob Dylan guy.
Not really, but I've heard a lot of his stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I know a decent amount of his stuff.
And I think that track is not one of Dylan's tracks that's really like put out there, but when you hear him do it, and it's especially on one of the albums, like, it's a live album, live recording from their shows. It's like, this song is so good. Why isn't this like the Dylan track? Like,
and that's what I mean when I read the article about them on Milwaukee Records.
Yeah, Milwaukee Record. Yeah.
Like, there's a link. Like, the dude who wrote it, there's a link to that cover.
Oh, really?
In it, and that's why I brought it up, because like, I never heard that song before, and I heard them do it. Now I just want to listen to it a bunch. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Because I guarantee it's way different too. Like, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you, and I think that's the thing, like David Bowie Lazarus, if you listen to David Bowie Lazarus and you listen to Az Oak play David Bowie Lazarus, like, you know, they're different. You know, but there's also similarities that keep it tied together so you know what song it is, and obviously because of the lyrics, but, you know, like, Az Oak has such a unique spin on the way they do music, you know, and
thank you. Yeah.
It's incredible, you know. That's why I wanted to ask about the covers, because, you know, like we were just talking about, you know, not being directed, where it's like, do we sit down like, all right, what covers are we gonna play today, guys? You know, it's like, nah, man, that's not how it works. Like, hey, that kind of sounds like this one song, because I've watched that happen, where it's like somebody will play one note, it's like, yeah, it reminds me of this song, and next thing you know, we're playing "Wish You Were Here." You know what I'm saying? Like, I was there for that. You know? I started crying. I couldn't even sing. Like, I just crying because I couldn't believe it. So it's incredible, man.
Yeah, we do choose covers that we enjoy. Like, you've heard the "I Wish You Were Here."
Yeah.
There's just tracks that are timeless that, if we all enjoy them, we want to try it at least.
What do you think makes a track timeless?
There's just a feeling embodied in that thing that is so relatable that you can't ignore it. You know, it's...
This song is one of them. This song's one of them, dude.
Sean wrote this one.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a great song. Yeah. This is a good one.
Yeah, he writes good tracks.
I feel like this song specifically really highlights your voice. You know what I mean? Because the music is real predominant, but your voice is so fluid throughout the track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is a good one.
I really enjoy singing that track.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It's called Carolina, off of this album. It's fun.
It is.
It's a fun track. Like, the lyrics are pretty... it's about a woman, you know.
Classic.
Yeah.
I mean, most songs are. Let's just get it out there, you know, in one way or another.
This one's more of an imaginative woman than anything else. It's very loosely based off of a woman that I knew named Carolina, but...
Okay.
But Sean wrote it?
Sean wrote the music, which inspired
the
rest of the bandmates to kind of create the music with it, and then they always kind of give me lyrical control, which I like. But Jericho was completely Blake.
Cool.
You know, there are songs that are completely written by, you know, Blake does a good bit of writing by himself. And I really enjoy the tracks that he brings to the table. When Sean writes, it's typically he's just writing some sort of bass line or some sort of groove on the bass. And then he'll kind of tell you like what he's imagining or direct the band in a way while we're playing. He's very good at directing the band as well.
I've watched it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it starts with one note, man. I've seen it.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch. You know, I really hope that as you start this, I guess we'll call it tour, because you guys, why don't you tell us where, you know, your album comes out across Oklahoma on March 21st, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And then you're having an album release party on March 22nd?
Yes.
And where's that at?
Club Garibaldi
Sweet.
in Bayview.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Hey, you can bank on that. I'll be there. Do you guys have any other dates that you're playing after that? I remember hearing something about you guys are going to be on 88.9 Radio Milwaukee.
Yeah, so we're playing, I believe the Tuesday before that, maybe the 18th of March, I want to say. So we got a little interview with them and a live on-air performance. It's been about a year since we did the last one with them. I don't know why they let us do it the last time. They just kind of let us do it. How that all started.
Well, thanks, Radio Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Or no, we're doing it on WMSE. 88.9 hasn't played us yet that I'm aware of. Yeah. Yeah, WMSE they love us and we love them. Yeah. How that all started is I literally walked up to their studio door with my guitar and was like, "Can I play on air right now?"
awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what was their reaction in that scene? Like that moment, what happened?
Yeah.
Right?
What happened next?
Hey.
I basically was told, "We really appreciate that you have the confidence to come up here and do this right now. Send us an email and we'll get you on the air."
Okay.
Yeah, it was very warm and welcoming. Then that's why, like, WMSE, when you listen to their DJs and their track lists, it's just different.
What's their numbers on the radio dial?
I think it's 93.1 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. 93.1 WMSE?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, they're associated with the MSOE.
You're right, that I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Because
Well,
they broadcast right there, right by MSOE, right? Like
Yes.
there's a little,
Essentially
it's like
on campus.
a little corner spot, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
I think there's two spots too. Or is it 91.7 WMSE? I'm not sure.
We should get that fixed.
Yeah,
We should figure that out before we throw that on the air so we can plug them a little bit. Cool, man. It's very cool.
Yeah, that was a great experience. And so what happened after that is I got to play on air alone and had a solo interview, which I played like 3 tracks off of this album. It was like 2 years before we recorded this.
Really?
So there's hot takes of this out there somewhere, hey?
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, you can listen to that like interview and live play. I think we have it on our website even.
How did
Really?
you decide, I'm going to go to them, knock on the door, and ask to play? Like, your mind-wise, like, how did you go from that scene, like, back up before? Like, what was going through your head?
Like 5 years of sending emails and getting no's from people. It's a lot different when someone shows up at your doorstep to have a conversation and they just kind of show you who they are.
Yeah.
And you like, I'm willing to accept a no right there and then too.
I think a lot about that today. Like, a lot of stuff I do, like, I've sent out thousands of emails. Crickets. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like I've sent out
You're
last
saying
year.
technology has failed you? Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm not. No. That's you trying to coerce your own perspective into just an observation or things that I've experienced.
Emails didn't work, but in person did.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, for me, like last year in like the literary world, I've sent a bunch of emails, sent query letters to literary agents, only mostly to be ignored, and then every now and then there'll like be a trickled rejection. And the last one I think happened around my birthday, and I just started laughing. I was just like, I'm just gonna do this myself now. And so now I'm releasing books.
You mean publish?
I'm just going at breakneck speed because I can, and I have no constraints. Whereas I have found through other entities, it's so slow and just don't have the vision in a way. So I identify with that a lot. It's like, and then I try to find ways of like, if everybody's doing this, I want to swim in an ocean by myself rather than like a crowded pond. And everybody's swimming, everybody's trying to get the attention of so-and-so. What can I identify that's like totally different?
Yes.
How can I approach this differently? So
That's the mindset.
I like that.
Because it was, I know no one's coming up to their door and knocking
you know
on
that. Today, like, people don't do that. They think the only way is through the phones. Phones or social media or stuff like that.
Yeah. And
This is how it gets done. Just like this. You know what I'm saying?
you have a conversation with someone. It's,
Oops. Careful with that.
yeah, it's. I went to Radio Milwaukee too and did that, and had a different reception there.
I'm surprised they didn't play it at 89.
So what do you mean by that? What happened there?
I feel like they have more of some sort of bureaucracy going on that
Yeah.
is overarching, that you can't just walk up to their door and knock on it kind of
So
thing.
how do you get through that? Because I've experienced that too. It's like the person you're asking this to is thinking then about all those layers, and so they just tell you like no or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
How do you break through that bureaucracy?
to me, in my mind at those times, was like, just walk up to the front door and ask. And if they say no, then they say no. And then if you want to do something else, ask another question. And if they say no, they say no. Like,
It's kind of how I pick up girls.
yeah, you know, it's,
If they say no.
It's mostly no for friends.
Yeah. It's always no. I'm still single, you know, whatever, yeah. You know?
like no skin off my back.
Yeah,
I'm going to shoot my shot. Yeah. You got to ask the questions.
Don't know if you don't ask. 100%.
Like I said, we're very warm reception at WMSC, where they were like, all right, we know who you are now. Send us an email. We'll set this up. 88.9, I've actually been there 3 times with my guitar. And have basically been given a no each time.
Okay.
And what I do when I get those no's is like, well, can I just play you a song? Because you're still talking to someone face to face.
Yeah, you're still interacting, yeah.
And I've gotten to play one track for someone, and they recorded it and sent it like upstairs to the bureaucracy.
I'm curious what track you played.
I think it was Mark of the Beast.
Yeah, better have been.
Yeah.
And they still said no?
Well, she recorded it and sent it on. We're in conversations with them now about being on air. But there's so many bands that want to be on that.
That's kind of where I see that angle coming from, where it's like, you know, just like what Richie was said, it's such a market, right? Like, there's so much music out there, and look, a lot of it's good.
Yes.
A lot of it's good music, man. I've heard some of it's bad, but there's really not bad music, right? It's just not the right vibe, or
it's not your cup of tea,
right? You know what I'm saying? Like, bad was an incorrect word to use. It's just different. But then there's great. And you guys with this album have ascended to great. Okay? At one point in your band age, you may have been good. This album takes you to great. And I want great things for all of you. I mean, shit, that, like I said, that's why we're sitting here, you know?
Yeah. I do feel like it's our best work so far. So if the last one was good, I feel like this one kind of is great.
Yeah.
But there's always room for growth. This album grew.
So you've been described as indescribable.
Isn't that awesome? So perfect.
So in today's kind of atmosphere, if you're trying to sell people on music, some people that make decisions, they want to know like right away how to sell or market that.
Yeah.
So how do you overcome that, the almost like the negative that you're original and hard to pinpoint? Like how do you go about maneuvering through it? What's that?
I don't know. Yeah, that's I ask myself that question all the time, kind of, and it's something I've asked each member, like, okay, describe us.
I just did that last week.
And I personally have fun with it, and I describe us as something crazy when people ask me what we sound like, because it's just like, well, it's not true. Like, this is what we are, because we're all over the place. And like I've said, I've played solo shows, so it's like there is a troubadour sense, like a solo artist, beating down doors, hunting for his next meal, kind of thing.
Good metaphor.
Like that's
good metaphor.
Yeah. I tell people that we're neo troubadour, psych soul, dehydrated blues, soaked in Sub-Zero jazz.
Sub-Zero jazz? What is that? There's all these words I don't know.
Yes, like what's crazy is when you go on an AI art website and you plug all those things in, and the images that they spit back at you are incredible. I love it.
Ooh, I was working on some AI art on Friday, and so I was with Ken, who we've worked together, creative partner on Millie Moves to the Farm and The Boy in the Rocket Ship. And I was talking about process, and I want to like speed up the process with like ideas and stuff. Because I can, like, I'm so focused right now. I'm so locked in. I'm here in the farmhouse studio. I'm like, just my output is indescribable. And so I'm like, I want to speed up the artwork part. So before we met up, I'm like messing around with it, and it's producing some decent stuff.
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation. I was like, hey, I have this idea. I'd like you to consider it. And so he's like, yeah, sure. And I told him, and he's like, yeah, sure. Let's start working on the book that we're working on and try that. And we're working on a Taylor Swift book right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's written, and then it's all described too, because we have it storyboarded. So all we're doing is describing like what's in the storyboard that we have. And I swear to God, when we're working on it, the AI just gave us the most terrible art and most like unbelievably intentionally horrible. And then so we're together, and he's like, I think I'm gonna stick with my just like physical writing. And I'm like, I don't blame you. This is
awful. Yeah.
Like
this is not what I was getting.
I wrote like
moments ago.
Taylor Swift is on stage. There are performers behind her in a line, bowing. Some have their hands up. Taylor Swift is wearing a sequin dress with a pink boa around her neck. She's smiling.
It's a lot of detail.
You have to be very detailed with it. Yeah. And then like one was like a mini Taylor Swift was emerging from Taylor Swift's dress, like at the bottom. Another one was like there's like there's like chains behind her, and like these androgynous dancers with just like generic faces, and it was just like so bizarre and weird.
Yeah.
But I think I think it signaled to me that I need to like explore this more on my own and then like see what the results are. This is a little bit of a tangent, but yeah,
No,
AI
no.
art.
It's
AI.
such interesting stuff.
It is interesting. So what brought you to AI art?
So we're playing with a band called the Honey Badgers, or Honey Badgers, I believe it is.
Okay.
Possibly even Honey Badger. Great musicians. That's who we're playing with at Club
After
Garibaldi.
you, right?
I believe they are.
I believe they're playing after you.
I'm
yeah.
not sure.
They're
There
playing
was
later, I think.
there was debate about that, and I tuned out.
Either way, they're playing the same day.
They're
at
playing the
same
same
place.
night. They're great
Yeah,
musicians.
yeah.
It seemed like they had used an AI generator for some of the images.
Okay. Like artwork, like album artwork and stuff, single art releases.
Just some of their promotional stuff that
Oh,
they've
okay,
used.
sure. Yeah.
Whether they did or not, I have no idea. But it struck a chord with me in my mind as saying, "Oh, that's totally AI art doing that."
Yeah.
Like, all right, like let's check it out. And like that description that I just said was one of the first things I put in to the engine.
Did it give you something you liked?
It gave me this beautiful woman
Oh.
that looks like a soul artist, incredibly colorful. I wish I could fall in love with her. I really do.
Wow.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. Yeah.
Did you write woman in the description?
No.
So it inserted a woman.
Yes.
Interesting.
Hey, we're only a couple steps away from weird science being real. So save that description, save that picture. Pretty soon you'll be able to 3D print one.
Pretty soon it'll be able to think like you won't need to type the specificity. It would just
think it. Yeah.
connect with your brain
It's
and
already
be like,
reading
oh,
what you're thinking.
I already know what you're thinking.
Yeah. Here, you wanted this? And you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
I guess I did. Yeah. It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
But the thing about AI art too is you own the copyrights to it. Like what you create, it's yours. It's not Midjourney or OpenAI. It's like it's yours.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So you can use that like creative wise with the tools available. It's like it's frontier. It's
It really
the Wild
is.
West.
Yeah. Wild West is a good description.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we're entering a new era of Wild West in the United States, and it's due to technology, just where we're at. It's like
Yeah.
the sky has kind of become the limit.
Yeah.
There aren't quite laws yet.
Yeah.
It's the new
And the laws
frontier.
right now are behind and
Yes.
yeah.
It's the Wild West. Yeah. In good ways and bad ways.
Good ways and
Yeah.
bad ways, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there, knowing that we're on a podcast, is there anything that you want listeners, potential, is there anything you want the world to know? In regards to anything. It could be personal life, band life, anything. Is there anything you want anybody to know going forward?
You belong here. This is your planet too, and you are loved.
That's great.
That is great.
That's great. It made me feel better. Like I wasn't even really feeling bad. It just made me feel a little positive uptick. Well put.
Yeah, I think that in this day and age, it can be really hard because everything is kind of owned, or at least it's perceived as being owned and possibly not by you. But you were born here. This is your world. Like, you're allowed to be you in this world. And if someone has a problem with it, then it's not your problem. It's theirs, kind of thing. People will cause problems for you, but you belong here. You were put here for a reason. This is the place for you.
That's awesome. I think we'll wrap it up there. As Oak, releasing a new album
March 21st.
March 21st. On Spotify, Apple Music.
Yeah, how can people
all
find it?
those.
How can people find the band?
Yeah, all the streaming platforms, they should be carrying it the 21st of March, which is a very special day to the band, actually.
In more ways than just the album dropping?
Yeah.
How
yeah.
so?
Just a brotherhood was formed on that day.
Okay.
Yeah. Of the members, kind of.
That's awesome.
And it's really close to the 1-year anniversary that I wandered up there too.
Wow. So there's so many
There's
different
layers.
angles,
Yeah,
so many
there's
layers.
There's layers.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming by the Farmhouse Studio. This has been really enjoyable.
An honor to have been here. Yeah, it's.
Good job, boys. Yeah.
Go out there and inspire the future.
Cheers.